Hi everyone, I'm Miret. I'm really happy to be here. I hope you are having a great time in this Docker community all hands number 6. In this session, I will share my experience building my own Docker extensions for an open source project. Could you guess which project? Percona Monitoring and Management, or PMM. Just to clarify, this extension is not official from Percona. This is my own experiment to improve my PMM and Docker skills. This session may help you to create your own Docker extension as well. About me, I'm Edith Pugja from Ayacucho, Peru. I am a technology evangelist at Percona. I started 2 months ago and I really love it. I was part of our Rechi internship for Apache Airflow in 2021. I studied at 42 Silicon Valley in California. I have background in DevOps, and I am a Docker and Kubernetes enthusiast. For the agenda today, I will give an introduction about Docker extensions. I will explain my own Docker extension for PMM. In the demo, we will see all the files involved in this extension, and we will see how to build and install the extension in Docker Desktop. So let's start it. When we build microservices applications, there are many different tools involved, and they become difficult to install, manage, or use them. Docker extensions was created to centralize these different applications in one place. Where is this? Docker Desktop. This makes it easy to install many tools by providing instant access to installers via Docker extensions. For example, Docker Disk Usage extension from Docker allows you to visualize in a graphical mode the memory and the disk used by Docker images and containers. And also, it lets you reclaim space that our container are not using. Docker extensions feature is in beta stage, and Docker is adding new features always and making Docker extensions better. My own Docker extension is about PMM, Percona Monitoring and Management, which is an open source tool for monitoring the performance of our databases, which could be in MySQL, Postgres, and MongoDB. And it's free. PMM is a very nice dashboard that lets us to visualize metrics, not just about our regular databases. It also monitors the elements around it, like networking, workloads, infrastructure, and logs. The advantage of using PMM is that we can identify problems and fix them before they happen, because we already have in a visual mode all the information we need to detect these problems on time. And we don't need, for example, to go and read plain text from logs in Linux. We have everything in one single place, in PMM. Why I decided to make an extension about PMM? PMM is possible to install with Docker, using some commands like Docker pull, Docker creates, or Docker run. I saw the necessity to make the installation easier as possible, with a single click, to avoid the user having to deal with volumes and ports when they are running PMM with Docker commands. With Docker extension, we can install the extension from the marketplace in Docker Desktop and instantly start using PMM by connecting it with our databases. As I mentioned it before, this is an example how my extension could look if this becomes official in the marketplace. Demo time. Let me share my screen of VS Code. Okay. This is the project that I was working. It's a GitHub project. And we have some elements, some directories, and files. We are going to start with the UI directory, which contains my HTML application, which is just a single web page where I'm adding the URL where my site of PMM is running. It's really basic. you can have here your React, Angular, or JavaScript application. All the part of front end should be in this directory in the UI. Docker Compose. The Docker Compose contains all the services that we are going to need for our Docker extension. For example, PMM server, which is the core of my extension. I'm going to call it PMM as a container. I'm going to use the official Percona image, the version 2 of PMM server. And I'm going to expose it in the port 32433, which is also defined in the index HTML. And I will need volumes called PMM data because I need to persist the data. PMM works with databases. For that reason, we need to persist the data in some place. We have also this another service, which is called health check. That is an auxiliary service that is going to check if my PMM server is running correctly. If not, this is going to stop it. You should run Docker Compose app to check if this Docker Compose is running correctly. If not, you can create your Docker extension. You should make sure that all the services defined here is running correctly. Let's go to Dockerfile. This Dockerfile is the Docker file for my extension. It is based in Alpine image, which is not heavy, and also have all the labels that I'm going to use for my extension. The name of my extension, the description, the vendor. I have here the logo of my extension and the image. I try to make it this like attractive because this is going to be displayed in Docker Desktop. It's how you show to the user your Docker extension. You can have more labels in the Docker official documentation, and you can make it even more attractive. This section is to copy all the files that we need, files and directories that we need for our Docker extension. For example, we are copying this Docker Compose file into the root of our image. We are copying the complete directory of UI. We are copying my logo and the metadata JSON. Let's see what metadata JSON has. Metadata JSON has my icon, which is going to be displayed in Docker extension. And also, this is calling to the Docker Compose YAML. Docker Compose is where all the services are defined. And when we create the container of the extension, this is going to execute this file, Docker Compose, to start to create the containers, the volumes, and everything we defined in Docker Compose. We also have this section, which is how our Docker extensions will be shown in the Docker desktop, in the section of extensions. It's going to be with the name Percona PMM. And it's going to have, when we click in the extension, this is going to have embedded in Docker Desktop the index that we have here, which has our site. And last file is makefile. We have two parameters in the makefile. This file is used to define some commands that we are going to use several times. It's just this file is just for automate some steps in the when we build, install, update, or push the extension. So we have two parameters: the image. This is the name of the image, and this one is the username of Docker Hub. You should put it here because at the end, your Docker extension is going to be pushed in Docker Hub. You need to publish also in Marketplace. For that reason, we need to tag this image with our user of Docker Hub. And the tag of latest. Build extension. This is going to run this subcommand, which is going just to make a Docker build with the parameters that we defined at the beginning, and is going to build the Docker file that we have here for our extension. We also have make install extension, which is going to install the extension in Docker desktop. And we have update extension in case you change some files or directories. You just don't need to install every time. You can just update with this command. And Docker push, which is going to verify if the tag already exists in Docker Hub. If no, this is going to push your Docker extension in Docker Hub. Okay, let's run make build extension. We want to build the Docker file that we defined for our extension. This creates the image of our extension, and now we are going to install it in Docker desktop with make install Docker extension. Okay, we will confirm this. And this is creating all the services that we defined in the Docker Compose, and also is creating the volumes and the section of Docker extension in the part of Docker desktop. It's already done. Let's go and see Docker desktop. Let me open it. Yes, here we have. We have the extension of PMM already installed. We are going to click it here. We are going to go to manage extension, and we are going to click to see all the information that we register with labels. Did you remember the name that we put it? Also the description and the image and the logo that we added in the Docker file. This is unpublished because this is not in the marketplace and it's not in Docker Hub. In the future, it could be. For now, we are going to open the extension, and before to log in, we are going to see and check the containers that this extension create. If you see, we have a package here. This is the package of our extension. If we open it, we are going to see two containers. There's two containers that we defined in Docker desktop, the health check and the PMM. PMM is running in this port. So if we go to volumes, we are going to see also the volumes that we defined in Docker desktop. If we want to get more information, we can click it here and see the logs of our volumes. It's where all the information about the databases is going to be saved. And let's log in our dashboard. With admin, which is by default the user and password, we are going to log in here, and we are going to change the password because it's the first time we are doing login. So I am changing to admin 2020. Here you have. This is our PMM dashboard, which is going to be ready to register nodes and databases that you could have in your local host or in another machine. So we are going to see here that we have information about our infrastructure, where this PMM server is running, about the CPU, memory, the disk, and many other metrics that we can get of the infrastructure. And we have the nodes that are being monitored and the database. When you added a database, this is going to appear here. And when you install in your local host a PMM client, this is going to start to send all the metrics to this dashboard to make it visible. Let's see what more we have. If we go to manage extension, we are going to be able also to uninstall this Docker extension. But in the future, it could be appear here in marketplace with all these Docker extensions for other companies. For example, able ready to install with a single click. Okay, let's summarize what we did. Just a second. Okay, let's summarize what we did in this project. We create all these files with Docker extension in it. I already have these files because I did Docker extension in it. It downloads a lot of files, but I took just the necessary for my extension, which which are Docker Compose YAML, the UI directory with my index, which I created for my site, makefile, the metadata JSON, and logo that I added for Percona. We copied that all that files into the Docker file. Also, we added labels for our extension, like the description of the extension, the name, some screenshot, the logo, and this Docker file is based on Alpine image. We are going to build this Docker file, and we are going to create, we create the extension image. After that, we installed this extension in Docker Desktop. It's where the containers were created and also the volumes. After that, you are ready to publish it in the marketplace or Docker Hub. But this cycle doesn't finish here. You have to update what you have in Docker Hub because you can have some bugs or you can add more features in your application. So you need to do the cycle again and again. That's all what I have. So in conclusion, Docker extensions save time because we don't have that complexity installing things, which I did here with PMM. And the user can access to your application with a single click. If you want to create your own application, go to the Docker extension official webpage, and you will find also some examples there. If you are curious about PMM, Percona monitoring and management, you can find it in the official webpage, and also you can contact with us. So we are happy to help. And if you want to reproduce this demo, you can access to my GitHub repository here where it's public. Feel free to send pull requests and clone. And if you are new with Docker Desktop, you can install it with this tutorial that I made in YouTube to install in Docker Desktop in Linux. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you so much and have a nice day.